I'm at Venice Beach on the southwest coast of Florida, where a Category 3 hurricane hit Siesta Key less than a week ago, and here I am in Venice. Now, Venice, north of here, you have Casey Key, and then you have Siesta Key. Siesta Key was the point of impact, but yet the other area south of us is Minnesota Key, Inglewood. Minnesota Key had catastrophic damage, and Casey Key had a lot of damage. I have that on another video that I created, and Siesta Key had a lot of damage. But how did Venice do? Well, that's really interesting, and I want to show you around, show you the damage. There is damage to the island here, but I would say of the islands that got impacted with this Category 3 less than a week ago, Venice is the first one to open up, and actually it is going to recover faster than the other islands for many reasons. And why is Venice so unique? Now, there's a lot of background noise with me because of the hotel across the street from the beach. I could point that out. That got flooded, and the first floor here on that hotel got flooded, so they're tearing everything out, and there's some destruction there. And the flood line, basically, as I walk, I'll kind of give a little perspective here. This park bench that I'm coming on, if I could look at where the water line was, the water hit about to this park bench. So if you look at this in relationship to the area, you can see that this was all underwater less than a week ago, and it caused damage, obviously, to that hotel. They're going to need to remodel the whole first floor. Does not look like it hit the condos across the street, and there was quite a bit of damage. Now, I have a lot of photos to present to show what this looks like, but Venice is really a gem. And why is Venice so special? Well, Venice Island is special for many reasons. One is the topography. The makeup of the island is very different than the surrounding islands, and every island has its own different personality. And the personality of Venice is a lot of history, a lot of beauty. It was very well laid out and thought of for a lot of reasons, especially for hurricanes. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at Venice Beach is different because things are built up. So much so that they actually have storm water drains that go in from the landscape into the beach, and the beach is built up. So when a storm comes in, it takes a lot more for that water to come into mainland. In fact, on Venice Island, there are condominiums, residents, ground floor units that were fairly close to the beach, had no water intrusion whatsoever, ground floor. Now, that's not the case with Siesta Key, especially not with Anna Maria or Minnesota Key that got so much damage because of the topography of the land, the way it's built up. When the water comes into Venice, it has more of an uphill battle to make it to ground, and properties are built up a lot higher here. For that reason, it's a lot more protected from hurricanes. Now, I've been a resident of Florida for 40 plus years, and I've always favored Venice. It's an area that I love. I've owned property here, and yet I've seen storms. So currently, when you look at the damage that took place here a week ago, you can see there's a lot of debris all over the place. And actually, that's consistent all over Sarasota, Manatee County. Anywhere mainland or the islands, we have a lot of debris down because of the winds. We had so much wind as a result of this last hurricane. What kind of damage did Venice actually have from Hurricane Milton? Well, interesting enough, most of the damage came 2 weeks prior from Hurricane Helene that did not make a direct impact to our area. And the reason is that Hurricane Helene brought in so much water. There was a storm surge from that hurricane, which is what flooded parts of this island and caused a lot of damage from the flooding. Hurricane Milton hit Siesta Key north of us. That brought in a lot of wind, which is why we see so many broken trees and limbs. But the damage to the island came from the flooding, not the wind. So what kind of damage? Well, the north part of the island is known as the South Jetty. It's an area where the boats can come in and out from a waterway, and that area got destroyed from water. There was so much water, it actually destroyed the cabana area. That parking area is closed. We do not have access to it. So that saw a lot of damage. Now, also south of that, there was a lot of surge that came in. Condominiums that were located in that area had water and had sand. The surge brought in so much water and sand, and this image kind of depicts what this looks like when you look at the bench that was located on Venice, and you can see all the sand around that came in. There was so much sand that came into the area from the surge. And what was also unique about Venice is there's a ditch that goes along the beach way around a lot of these condos. From beach, there's a retention area, and then there's also, then it goes back to ground area. With all this water that came in and all this sand, a lot of that retention area ditch just got covered over, which actually helped protect the residents on the island from having water as well, because there were barriers for that hurricane to get to our residents. And in addition to the damage on the north end of the island known as the South Jetty, and that park area was the south end of the island, which is well known for Sharkies, a popular restaurant here on Venice that has a big pier that goes out to it. And what's about that area is it's all closed off right now. You don't have access to it by car. I do see people walking to the beach, but it's closed off, and that's a real popular area in Venice. And why is it so desirable? Well, you have Sharkies, you have the pier, you also have Brohart Beach, which is a dog beach, and that's one of my favorite go-to places, as well as my black lab. We all go as a family, and she loves the beach, and it's just kind of a fun place because to have a dog beach here in our area, it's a popular spot. And then south of that, you have Casperson Beach, and that's a popular spot for finding shark's teeth. Now, there's areas where you can get nets and you could actually pan and find little shark's teeth, which is kind of a fun thing. Venice is well known to be the shark's tooth capital of the world, and these are prehistoric shark's teeth, and sometimes you can find them in the markets or the farmers markets, and they'll sell the real big ones. So it's kind of a treasure hunt to look for shark's teeth while you're here on Venice, and that makes that area fun. Right now, that's all closed off because of the storm and the damage, so I can't assess that, but I have some aerials to just show you what a pretty area that is. Now, I am on Venice Avenue. I'm walking towards the shops downtown, and to show you, this is a really pretty area. Right down Venice Avenue, you have this parkway or walkway that takes you right down to the beach, and this is well known for having races, having events. But what's really neat is this location where I'm about to walk to is where farmers market is every Saturday morning, except it wasn't here last Saturday. But we were here Sunday, and the shops started opening up. And right after the hurricane, they started opening up the shops. And as I mentioned, the other islands right now that are adjacent to us, some have had catastrophic damage, and others are still closed. Venice was the first to open up, and it speaks volumes to how well and how resilient this area is. Venice has kind of proven itself to be a safer island to be on a hurricane. Not saying that you should be on a hurricane during an island, not a good idea, but obviously if you have a home, you want to make sure your home is well protected. And I was actually very fortunate, as I mentioned. There's ground floor residents here. My family has real estate here, and no flooding, but definitely a lot of damage. So, and this is the site for the farmers market on Saturday. But what makes Venice also unique is its little downtown area. Now, Venice is known as the city on the Gulf, which is kind of fun because you could actually live, work, play here and all be sustained. I would say the walk score on Venice Island is higher than any other island in the adjoining area where you could actually live here. You can do there's arts here as well. There's art festivals. There's a little theater here, and I had season tickets one year and went to go see all the plays, and it was fun. And once in a while we do that. Now the theater, the little Venice Theater, was damaged in a previous storm, but they still had performances going on since that point to help fundraise to rebuild that theater, and it will be rebuilt. So it's kind of a tight-knit community, and I've always favored Venice, as I mentioned. And I remember back around the year 2000, you could buy a home in Venice for around 100,000. 100,000, you would have a selection of homes to purchase. And I knew that was going to be a good investment. And I was purchasing real estate at that time for investment. But to me, it was always cash flow. It was always about what property is going to give me the highest cash flow. And at $100,000 back then, with the rent and the interest rate, it wasn't quite there, which is kind of funny because those numbers seemed high at that point, and now 100,000 for a house here. When we're looking, basically, if you want a house on Venice Island, today's numbers are pretty much 7 to $1 million plus for a house, depending on the age of the house and such. Homes were 100,000. I decided I want to purchase one. I was buying rental properties and numbers weren't working. And then one of my tenants called me and said, I want to buy your rental house, or the house they're renting. And the market started to go up very quick. And I decided I would sell him the house because that gave me money to put as a down payment to buy a house on Venice Island, where the numbers could almost work. But at that point, the 100 became 200, more like 2.25 very quickly. The prices were going up very fast. And I decided to still do it. I purchased a home. And I had a family member fight me on this a little bit, or at least gave me some resistance, and says, you're going to spend $250,000 on a 900 square foot house. Does that make any sense? And I said, it does, because it's down the street from the beach and it's on Venice Island. This island is going to take off. This is going to be a great area for appreciation. So I closed on that house around $215 purchase price. A year later, the house across the street from what I owned, where my house was, it was on Fiesole off of Harbor Drive here, went on the market, and this was one ugly house. It was a big house, but it was just ugly, and the lot was not as nice as my home. Now, when I purchased my house, I only had 3 homes to choose from on Island at that $225,000, $250 price point, and I actually chose the house with the best lot. I didn't buy the biggest home. I bought the home that had the best lot, and that proved to be a real good decision, because this house across the street went on the market a year later. Terrible looking home. It was about 500 plus, and it sold. And as it sold, they started tearing the house apart. I mean, literally everything was for sale at that point. The front door was for sale, the light fixtures were for sale, the kitchen, and they were stripping the house for some reason. It didn't make sense to me at that point. But what they were doing was they were getting ready to tear the house down. And that's exactly what they did. They tore this house down. So a year after I purchased my home on the island of Venice for $215 range, the house across the street sells for $500,000, and then they tear it down. Well, the way I look at it, I had a better lot than they had. So my $215,000 home became a $500,000 home. And today it's worth about $800,000, but unfortunately I don't still own it, which was a mistake. But anyway, different subject. But the whole point is, we've seen a lot of appreciation here on Venice, and I could see the trend. I could see the trend of knowing that $100,000 was a good deal, and when it doubled in a year, 200 was a good price, and even when it doubled again and became worth 500, that was still a good price for a home here on the island. And because it offers so much, it has such a lifestyle community feel to it. Now, I've never been concerned with the hurricanes here, because I said I feel very safe here. But what's unique about this whole experience of owning real estate here on Venice Island is, right now we're in a market where a lot of people are saying the real estate market is in trouble for a lot of reasons, right? We've had interest rates go up, insurance is insane, and we're concerned what is this going to look like after this hurricane. Is insurance going to go up? I don't know how it cannot go up, right? So if insurance is going to go up and interest rates have been up, we're seeing a down market. We're seeing a lot of inventory hitting the real estate market in the state of Florida. A lot of people are saying Florida is doomed. But wait, you know what's really interesting about Venice Island? Over the last 6 months, and obviously I study the market all the time, the inventory of property for sale on Venice Island has consistently been going down. Even at a time when everyone's saying this is a bad market. Well, I don't think we're in a bad real estate market. I just think it's all about location, right? What do they say? Location, location, location. And Venice Island, even after a hurricane, days later has recovered from this, where we have surrounding islands that have not. So Venice is a top choice for me. I know this island like the back of my hand. After I purchased my first island home in Venice, it was about a year later, I purchased another house. I had 2 houses. And then 06, 08 happened, bad years. And I could have held on to them, but I look back, and of course we always look back at what I should have done, but I should have kept those homes and not worried about the other properties, because these are the homes that appreciated the most. This is the area that has sustained a lot of storms. And I'm not just talking weather, I'm talking about the market storms. It's about supply and demand. The supply of this island of inventory has been going down. The demand is always here. Florida, it's very different. We have areas where we're seeing prices go down, and it's all subjective to the location. And a lot of people are saying, with these storms, I want out of Florida. Well, I say, depends on what part of Florida are we talking about, right? It's not all equal. So anyway, I'm obviously a fan of Venice, and I know this market. So if you're exploring this and you're thinking that you might want to own real estate here one day, then you and I need to talk. And I hope this has been helpful to you, as I want to be a resource to help you. With that, if you were in this storm with me, Hurricane Milton, I hope you and your family are safe, and I wish you well.